Why the hell are you thinking of ditching your daughter's wedding celebration?
The angry yell of a young woman can be heard over the phone. I did indeed receive the wedding invitation 3 months ago, but I thought I properly sent back not attending. Yet the woman is fuming, claiming that because I bailed at the last minute, the ceremony was ruined, and I should take responsibility. Confused, I repeatedly explained that I had told my absence. However, the woman's response was something I did not anticipate at all. My name is Alicia. I have a childhood friend named Mike who lived next door, and our families have been close since we were kids. Mike, 2 years older than me, moved away for college and after graduating got a job at a big company in New York. I went to a local college and got a job at a small local company. Soon after, Mike got married to a college classmate, and I attended the wedding as a friend of Mike's. 3 years into their marriage, they had a daughter. Their daughter's name is Bella. They sent me pictures and videos, and Bella was very cute. Mike has good features, so I thought Bella took after him. Their noses were very similar, and Mike seemed to adore Bella to the point of spoiling her. His wife seemed to be a kind person, and Mike seemed to be living a happy life. Everything seemed to be going smoothly, but 2 years after Bella's birth, Mike surprisingly divorced his wife and came back home with Bella. The reason for the divorce was his wife's infidelity. Apparently, she had been having an affair with her ex-boyfriend for about a year, and Mike could not forgive her. He obtained custody of Bella and returned home. Alicia, it's been a while. I still can't believe my wife was cheating. I went to see Mike after he returned home, but he had lost weight due to the shock of the divorce and was extremely depressed. He couldn't get over it, calling his ex-wife a lowlife for cheating and expressing resentment towards her. Even though he was doing his best as a father, Bella, still only 2 years old, was missing her mother and crying a lot. Worried about Mike and Bella, my family visited them regularly, provided emotional support to Mike, and helped take care of Bella. Over time, Mike gradually regained his spirits. Around the time Bella started kindergarten, she started calling me Mom. Because I saw Bella frequently and often looked after her, she became very attached to me. People around me said Bella needed a mother, and since I hadn't had a boyfriend in a long time, I decided to marry Mike for Bella's sake. I didn't have romantic feelings for Mike, but our parents were good friends, and with strong persuasion from those around me, I felt more swept up into the marriage. Still, once I decided to get married, I made a strong vow to take care of Mike and Bella with all of my heart. We rented a condo a little away from our parents' homes and started our new life as a family of 3. I had been working hard as a full-time employee at a local company, but I quit my job to dedicate myself to childcare, as Mike wished, and became a stay-at-home mom. With support from both families, Bella grew up healthy and vigorous. We had our share of difficulties, but the 3 of us were living happily. However, when Bella was in 5th grade, Mike had to resign from the major company he had been working for. He was forced to take the blame for a problem caused by his boss at the company. Even though he pleaded innocent, his boss's influence was powerful, and it seemed that nobody wanted to help him for fear of getting involved. After quitting his job, Mike, who was an excellent worker, was able to find a new job at a small local business in his hometown right away. But his salary was drastically reduced. When the family's finances tightened and we couldn't afford the rent for our current apartment anymore, we decided to move to a cheaper, older, and smaller one. I begged to return to my previous company and started working desperately to earn Bella's tuition. Our parents offered to help, but they were both living on their pensions and barely scraping by every month. Their house is small and there's no room for us to live together, so we can only accept their good intentions. I tried my best to manage our family budget frugally so that the 3 of us could live healthily. But Bella, who knew our previous carefree life, could not accept the gap between that and our current reality and began to take it out on me. "If only Mom could earn more money," she said, and unbelievably, Mike sided with Bella. I couldn't hold back my anger because if Mike hadn't been fired in the first place, we wouldn't have to live such a hard life, and it led to a big fight. Perhaps because of such a marital life, Mike had an affair. Bella was now in her sophomore year of high school, just old enough to choose which parent to live with, but still needing a guardian. Comparing to his previous job at a large company, Mike's salary had been extremely reduced, but it was still higher than mine. Thinking about Bella's future, I thought it would be best to leave it to Mike. When I consulted with her, Bella herself, returning from school, said she would go with her father. I live with Dad and my new mom. My new mom is unlike you. She is a rich lady. Plus, she started her own company and is popular as the beautiful CEO everyone's talking about. Being with you is just poverty-stricken and you're a stranger without a blood tie, right? It's okay to live miserably alone in the shabby apartment forever, isn't it? Bella was already calling Mike's mistress Mom. I was speechless at Bella's unbelievable insults and calling me you. Just then, Mike came home with his mistress. True to the name of the beautiful CEO everyone's talking about, the mistress who introduced herself as Kathy was a very beautiful woman. Kathy threw a wad of bills in front of me without even a greeting, a smug smile on her face. Here's the compensation for the affair. It's $80,000 in total for me and Mike. If you want it, I'll be generous and give it to you, so pick it up. In my anger, I wanted to throw it back at her, but I took a deep breath and picked up the bills. Then Mike and Bella pointed at me and laughed rudely, saying I was vulgar and poor. Kathy, with a triumphant look on her face, said, So we've settled. All you need to do is write a divorce paper right away and never show up in front of us again. We've even paid the compensation, so don't bother us with a lawsuit later. With that, the three of them left, laughing at me. I clenched the wad of bills tightly. I wanted to retort, and I felt like slapping all three of them in the face. However, considering it as alimony for two people, $80,000 was higher than the going rate. I realized that I wouldn't be able to win that amount even if I took it to court, so I decided to use the money to start my life anew. And so, 8 years later, I had forgotten about Mike and Bella completely while living a busy life. One day, out of the blue, my parents told me that an invitation to a wedding had arrived at their home. Apparently, it was addressed to me from Bella. When I looked at the actual invitation, the part that said unable to attend had been crossed out and attending was already circled. My parents said that it had been that way from the beginning, and feeling a bit creeped out, I rewrote unable to attend and mailed it back. I could have ignored it, but I thought it would be a hassle for the venue if the number of guests wasn't settled. 3 months later, during work, a colleague told me that a woman claiming to be my daughter was on the line for me. Could it be Bella? When I picked up the phone, Bella on the other end was so furious that she started yelling at me as soon as I took her off hold.
How could you ditch my wedding, Mom?
I instinctively pulled the phone away from my ear due to her loud, angry voice. Even then, Bella continued to yell.
My wedding is ruined because of you.
Listen, I don't have a daughter. Can you stop calling me?
Huh? What are you talking about, Mom? We're family, right?
Forgetting all about what happened 8 years ago, Bella laughed in a high-pitched voice. When I responded with a deep sigh, she started asking for money.
Hey, Mom, your company is doing pretty well right now, isn't it? So you must be making a good salary. I'm struggling financially because my husband is asking for alimony. You'll help me out, right? Because your daughter is in trouble?
Like I said, I don't have a daughter. If you're having trouble with money, you should talk to your rich and beautiful mom. When I responded like that, Bella started going on and on about how hard her life is now. It all started with a magazine. Kathy, who married Mike, apparently regularly purchases a famous trade magazine in her industry to see how her company is perceived by the public. Then she's noticed that a company had overtaken hers, which until then had been the talk of the town. It was the company I worked for. After my divorce from Mike, I worked tirelessly to forget about my married life. When the CEO said, "You know what social media is? Give it a try," I became the PR person, started being proactive on social media and gaining media exposure. Our company, which had been conducting business honestly in our local area, saw a boost in recognition and sales began to rise. We started to actively hire locals and even started to attract excellent talent from other companies. As a result, sales went up, which attracted more people, and we started to create better products, and we found ourselves in a very good situation. This seemed to be a huge blow to Kathy, and she seemed desperate to surpass our company. However, it wasn't a clever strategy to boost their own sales, but rather by bad-mouthing me to their clients, saying, "A company that hires such a woman can't be good," as a means to pull us down. The staff were shocked that the competent CEO suddenly became emotional and started to meddle in the management with personal feelings. It seemed that many people who voiced their opinions were either demoted or fired. As a result, talented people started to leave Kathy's company, and it was also suspected and avoided by other companies. Before we knew it, a big gap had opened up between her company and ours. Unable to acknowledge this, Kathy began to lash out at Mike and Bella, and it seemed that Bella and the others did not see any value in Kathy, who was not wealthy. At home, it seemed that they were living a life where angry voices were constantly resounding. Unable to bear such days, Mike and Bella would find people who work at the same company as me and say, "I want to start over with Alicia, but Kathy is getting in the way," apparently crying. But most of the employees of the company are locals, and among the new hires there are also people who got fired from Kathy's company. Naturally, everyone knew about my relationship with Mike, so they were not treated by anyone as a shameless parent and child. Despite this, the two of them who wanted to get close to me again by any means thought if they invited me to Bella's wedding, I would not be able to decline, so they sent an invitation. Even if I returned it as an absence, they would treat me as present and advertise me widely to the guests. However, on the day of the wedding, I was absent. Moreover, because Bella disliked Kathy sitting in my mother's seat, they ended up having a big fight in the wedding venue, despite it being a place for celebration. Eventually, the disgusted guests left and Bella was served with divorce papers from the groom, who saw her true nature.
"Mom, come back home soon. Your company is money, right? I'll kick that woman out next time. Let's live together as three again."
I'm in trouble if I'm blamed for not going as planned, involving people arbitrarily. Every time Bella calls me mom, I, who get a headache, repeatedly say, "We're not parent and child anymore, so stop contacting me," and I hang up. But since they keep calling over and over again, I consulted my boss and registered not only Bella's but also Mike's phone number as a nuisance call to the company. Perhaps they didn't have the leeway to call from a different number. I was able to have peace during working hours. When my work was over and I was on my way home, Bella, Mike, and Kathy were all waiting together. Bella, as always, accusing me of being heartless, Mike repeating his demands to get back together. Kathy was shouting at me to pay her money because I was breaking the promise of settlement by getting involved with Mike and the others. "Hey Bella, if you're struggling with money, wouldn't it be solved if your dad found a new rich mom? And Mike, you're the one who left with the other woman, so if you ask for a reconciliation with your ex-wife, me, it looks like you're a man who was also dumped by your current wife. Is that okay with you?" Both Mike and Bella, who had been so nosy, quietly closed their mouths. Finally, I looked at Kathy and smiled. "I've kept my promise to you. I haven't contacted these folks on my own. It's not me who's bad here. Isn't it these two trying to ditch you and sneakily getting in touch with me?" I quickly turned and headed back to the office. Behind me, the sound of three people hurling insults at each other echoed. With those people in my peripheral vision, I reported to the police that a squabbling family was on the brink of physical altercation. On the way home via a different route, I also contacted my parents' house to inform them that the actions of the three were becoming more intense. It just so happened, Mike's parents were also at home and responded with a reassuring, "If they show their faces, we'll give them a good beating." I asked them, "Please don't hit them, just keep the doors locked and avoid meeting them," before ending the call. When I went to work the next day, many people asked if I was okay. Apparently, after I left, the three really got into a brawl, and many police officers had to rush over in their patrol cars. Even with the arrival of the police, the trio remained agitated and didn't care about the attention they were garnering. Eventually, they were each put in a patrol car and reasoned with, but given it was rush hour, many people ended up witnessing the scene. Among them were Kathy's company employees and partners, resulted in several deals being called off. Kathy, a headstrong businesswoman who was so engrossed in her resentment towards me that she neglected her business, ended up bankrupt. Being a wealthy heiress, she seemed to have sought her parents' help but was apparently told to take her responsibility for her actions and left to fend for herself. While Kathy was sorting out her business, Mike quickly took Bella and got divorced. After the divorce, Mike and his family returned to their in-laws where, true to their word, Mike's parents gave them a piece of their mind and severed ties, telling them never to show their faces again. Since the people around our parents' home knew us well, they felt uncomfortable and quickly moved to a different town. He was dismissed after a string of unauthorized absences, having run off without even submitting a resignation notice. Bella seems to be working at her job, but is struggling to repay the wedding costs that were demanded by the groom she had left high and dry. All three of them came to my workplace, but my understanding bosses and colleagues protected me, and my subordinates quickly reported them. The persistent trio eventually gave up when a hefty male security guard was placed at the company's reception, finally bringing the situation under control. Since then, I've been living my life devoted to my work so as not to remember those three. Thanks to the competent personnel from Kathy's company coming for job interviews, our boss is over the moon. I'm making a conscious effort to live each day without letting money get to my head and changing my attitude or abusing others.